Good morning. Thanks for joining me today for the Olivet Daily Reflection. My name is Ed Lovell, and I'm the Communications Director here at Olivet Presbyterian Church. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the acronym WWJD, or What Would Jesus Do? This goes back about 30 years when it was very popular for youth groups to wear these bracelets emblazoned with the WWJD logo. It was in 1989 that a youth minister in Holland, Michigan, by the name of Janie Tinklenberg, came up with the idea of making these friendship bracelets with the WWJD logo as a way of reminding her youth to make moral decisions, to think, what would Jesus do in this situation? Um, she had 300 of these bracelets made, and they sold out very quickly and made more. And in fact, a lot of people started making them, and pretty soon you could find WWJD emblazoned everywhere. T-shirts, coffee mugs, bumper stickers, and of course, friendship bracelets and necklaces. What a great way to make decisions based on what would Jesus do. The phrase, what would Jesus do, goes a whole lot further back than Janie in 1989. The phrase, what would Jesus do, became popular in the late 1800s after a widely read book by Charles Sheldon that was titled In His Steps and subtitled, What Would Jesus Do? Um, Sheldon was a congregational minister, and he preached a series of sermons with the question uh, phrased at the end. He would preach a sermon of some moral dilemma, and then he would finish the sermon with the statement, what would Jesus do? He would answer that question then the following week. So he did this as sort of a series of cliffhanger serials. Um, and then in 1896, Sheldon collected all of these sermons into a book and titled it In His Steps, What Would Jesus Do? Janie Tinklenberg read this book in 1989 and received her inspiration for the friendship bracelets. And the rest, as they say, is history. An interesting piece of this story is that neither Sheldon nor Tinklenberg profited from their ideas. Sheldon failed to copyright his book, and it was placed in the public domain shortly after publication. And it was published by any number of companies, and it became a worldwide bestseller. Uh, and even though it was very successful, he received very little money. Tinklenberg, she never imagined that her idea would take off the way that it did. And by the time she tried to copyright the idea, she was told that it was so prevalent that it was really in the public domain. According to stories, neither Sheldon nor Tinklenberg were particularly upset about losing out on a chance to make money, preferring instead just the satisfaction of getting the message out there for people to think about. Right now, we have to ask ourselves, what would Jesus do? We seem to be at a tipping point with our politics of division and our history of institutional racism and white privilege. Um, Now seems to be the perfect time to ask, what would Jesus do? This has all happened before. Eric Garner died in 2014 saying the exact same words as George Floyd. I can't breathe. He uttered those words as a police officer placed him in a chokehold. We can't let this moment slip by again. And if we do, it's because we're not serious about asking the question that must be asked. What would Jesus do? Join me in prayer. Dear Father, give us the courage to ask the question and the conviction to act on the answer to what would Jesus do. Open our eyes so that we may see the needs of all people, all colors, all races, all different beliefs. Open our hearts so that we can love and care for all people. Amen.